Chapter 1 Under a Lucky Star. Out over the graying waters of the Adriatic, a single bright star, the planet Venus, shone in a pale pink evening sky. Inside a house, whose window faced the sea, young Octavius was curiously but cautiously following his friend Agrippa up a flight of dusty winding stairs that led to the studio of a Greek astrologer. It was a winter day, one of the first in that year now known to us as 44 BC. Octavius was 18, and, like most of the other young Roman students there in the Greek college town of Apollonia, he had become interested in astrology. Studying of the stars, he thought, was the most scientific way of foretelling the future and discovering the divine will of the gods. Not even examining the liver of an animal, though it united with the soul of the god to whom it had been sacrificed, could compare with astrology. Octavius and his best friend Agrippa, eager to know what was written for them in the stars, had thus decided to consult the celebrated astrologer. But now, as Octavius climbed the stairs, he hesitated, somewhat fearful of finding out what the future held for him, lest it prove dismal and discouraging. How little he knew then, this slim, pale, 18-year-old Octavius, that before he lived another 18 years, he would be ruler of the Roman Empire, the great Augustus Caesar. How preposterous at this time that would have sounded. In 44 BC, there was no Roman emperor. Rome was a republic. And this boy, this future emperor, was not a Caesar. Although he was the grandnephew of Julius Caesar, the most powerful Roman of the day, his own family name was not Caesar, but Octavius. As for Augustus, that was not a name at all. It was an adjective, used to describe the holiness of some sacred shrine, or the majesty of Jupiter himself, but never a human being. So Octavius, being naturally cautious, and likewise fearful that he had not been born under a lucky star, entered rather doubtfully into the presence of the gray-haired astrologer. In a high room, where he could see the sky, the old man was found squinting over a table of figures, completely surrounded by maps and charts and diagrams. He looked up as the two young Romans entered, the one sturdy and brown, the other slim and pale, with delicate, clear-cut, very regular features. Both were dressed, he noted, in expensive togas of the very finest pure white wool. Though scarcely anyone in Apollonia would have failed to recognize Octavius as the favorite nephew of Rome's foremost citizen, if the astrologer knew him, he shrewdly gave no indication of it. Instead, he followed the boy's sharp, keen eye to a certain map, which he saw had attracted his attention. It was a map of the universe, believed to be correct. On it, the earth was pictured as standing motionless in the center, while the sun, moon, and 5 planets revolved around it, all underneath a dome-like heaven upon which the more distant stars were fixed. As the astrologer explained the map, he spoke in Greek, the one language besides their own, which all educated Romans also spoke. Just where the sun, moon, and planets were, at the very hour when a man was born, determined his character and his future. And was that not reasonable, he argued? Did not the sun have its effect upon the earth? Did not the seasons change as sun, moon, and planets moved about the sky? Did not the seasons change as sun, moon, and planets moved about the sky? Why then should not people also be affected by the heavenly bodies? Indeed, said the astrologer with professional pride, for centuries people have been guided by this old Chaldean wisdom. To speak of astrology as Chaldean wisdom, Octavius knew, came from the fact that it had originated among the Chaldeans or native priests of ancient Babylon. From them, centuries later, the Greeks had learned it and had now passed it on to the Romans. Agrippa, having heard enough about the system, was now impatient to see how it worked, so he boldly gave the year, month, day, and hour of his birth, whereupon the astrologer named the sign of the zodiac under which Agrippa had been born. Then he started on another rather lengthy explanation. The zodiac, he pointed out, was a band or circular pathway of 12 star patterns, marked out around the heavens, in front of which the sun, moon, and planets were continually passing like stations along the way. Since most of the star patterns had been named for animals, they were all referred to, he said, as the zodiac, or little animal. It took the sun exactly 12 months to make the round trip through all 12 star signs, he added in conclusion. Then he turned back to the charts and tables, and having busied himself for some time, predicted for the young, active Agrippa a brilliantly successful career. Though pleased at his friend's good fortune, Octavian's heart sank. Surely, by comparison, his own future would seem dull indeed. Reluctantly, he gave the necessary dates. Suddenly, to his amazement, the astrologer looked up with an exclamation of awe and surprise. Then, dropping to his knees without a word, he threw himself at the feet of Octavius, as before a mighty ruler of the sea. The boy was speechless with astonishment, and although he did not show it, he was still trembling with excitement as he and Agrippa made their way out under a sky now bright with stars. What could be the glorious destiny, thought Octavius, that was written for him in the stars? What had the gods in store for him? What did the future hold? Of one thing only he felt certain. Whatever he might become depended upon the tremendous and far-reaching plans of his great uncle, Julius Caesar.